private universities of Bangladesh and in several national and international institutions for more than 3 decades. So Professor Raab was the director of the Institute of Business Administration, IBA, of the University of Dhaka, and president of the Association of Management Development Institute in South Asia, MDISA, and chairman of the Institute of Management Consultants of Bangladesh, IMCB. And Dr. Raab was trained in accreditation process of business schools, and he is also a member of the executive board of MDISA and a member of the Accreditation Council and Accreditation Awards Committee of South Asian Quality Systems, SAQS, of MDISA. And Professor Raab was educated at Dhaka University, Indiana University, USA, and the University of Belgrade, from where he got his doctorate degree. And he also certified management consultant from Australia as an accomplished academician and administrator. He has published a number of mentionable books, articles, research works, case studies, reports, and visited many business schools in USA, Canada, United Kingdom, Far East and Southern Asian countries to study their academic programs. So now I invite our session chairman, Dr. Abdul Raab, to the podium.
The topic for discussion now is management and sustainability, South Asian dimensions. Well, a lot of discussions have taken place already on sustainability and sustainability issues. But then sustainability does not really come on its own. You have to manage. You have to plan to have sustainability. You have to organize men and resources. You have to monitor that actions are taking place as per plan, and finally must make sure that it has taken place. Now, we have 3 speakers on this topic. The first is Ms. Aruna Rajakaria. She is the director of She Consultants, Sri Lanka. She has over 25 years experience as a finance professional, of which the last 2 years has been as the founder director of She Consults Private Limited, a leading and a variety of engagements, including strategic planning, corporate report writing, and substantially implementation. Corporate reports written by She Consults have won international, regional, and national acclaim. She Consults has been founded to provide female finance professionals with alternative opportunities to facilitate a better work-life balance. Her other recent engagements in a personal capacity include independent reviewer of our audit quality assurance for the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Sri Lanka, consultant to World Bank on preparation of the report on observance of standards and codes of accounting and auditing. Prior to this, she served as country manager of ACCA Sri Lanka and Maldives, and in a number of roles within the banking sector at NDB Bank PLC, telecom sector, Lanka Cellular Service Private Limited, and with Ernst & Young. She is the associate member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Sri Lanka, and she served on the board of NDB Capital Holdings PLC and NDB Securities Limited as an independent, non-executive director, and is the chairperson of the Audit Committees and Remuneration Committee, and also a member of the Investment Committee. So I request Ms. Rajakaria to present his paper.
Thank you for your kind words, Chairman. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished invitees. I set myself the task being the unreasonable person. I believe it was George Bernard Shaw who said that progress of mankind depends on the unreasonable man. I am not happy with the progress so far, and in the words of Little Mermaid, Hans Christian Andersen's fairy tale immortalized by Disney, where she wanted feet, I want more. So here's my presentation. I've tried to go about my evaluation of the journey so far using the GRI framework. And so I've looked at the environmental reporting as it is today. The rest around that tree that's supposed to make us green is materials, energy, and the various other components of the GRI index. And then I will share with you what I believe is the progress we've made. The GRI database was my first stop since this was looking at South Asia. The database had reports from India, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, and Bangladesh. Having been involved in introducing GRI in my former role at ACCA, we've been very passionate about it. I thought it would be natural for many corporates to upload their reports onto GRI to showcase. But these are the results. A little disappointing because it does make online research a little tougher when it's not available. India does very well with 55 companies, whether as a percentage of the stock exchange, the listed companies, that makes as much sense, not too sure. Sri Lanka was next, and Pakistan also has quite a bit, and Bangladesh, a growing amount. So yes, we've started the journey, but let's say where we've got to. ACCA runs award programs for sustainability in Sri Lanka, sustainability reporting in Sri Lanka, and in Pakistan it's called the Pakistan Environmental Reporting Awards. What I did was I took the entries into these competitions and compared it with the number of companies listed on the stock exchanges, the country's respective stock exchanges. They're both, it's positive, it's growing. From the 10% we saw a few years ago, Sri Lanka is at 25%, Pakistan is climbing up to 20%. Yes, it's gathering momentum. Is it enough? I don't think so. There are other players who have been driving sustainability, the companies themselves, but they're supported by a plethora of certifications. Particularly, I've focused this presentation only in environment. So these are the standards, and they're positive, they provide a framework, but we also need to understand their limitations when corporates use these. So ISO 14001, which seems to be the most commonly cited certification in reports, it doesn't have performance requirements. It only provides a framework. So when you are assessing a company, you need to know that. It just provides a framework. Rainforest Alliance, again, no specific performance requirements except for the data gathering part of it. Green Globe certification, all these have supported the journey of corporates. So the good thing is, yes, they've really supported the journey, but there's way more to go. So all these are things that I've seen, and there may be more, but these are just the environmental certifications you get for quality assurance and so on as well. These are the GRI indicators. I've just focused on the environmental components. And I'll just try and give some good examples that I've seen, and maybe we could discuss where it goes, where it can go further. Materials. I think GRI has put materials on top because it is the most important indicator. Unfortunately, few corporates report on this in a structured way. And even when they report, it's very hard to see whether there has been progress because what you see is increased consumption. But we understand corporates grow. What might be better is that if there was an intensity measure, which very few actually provide. These are some of the SAFA award winners, which I have looked at, and this was a good one, which showed it had a some policy articulated, data given, which is a big plus in what is available today. I also like this one by Engro Corp. Again, we lack trends to really determine whether we have really improved materials consumption. And then we come to energy. Here, thanks to the price of fuel, crude oil, I think there has been a lot of innovation in this area, driven by cost. And that is right, because when you do it for business reasons, you know that it's here to stay. You're going to keep working at it because it's going to deliver on the bottom line. It is not even far off. It's very immediate. These are quick wins. We see this happening, and there's a lot achieved here. Disclosure could be much better, but I just put one for example, which is from Attock Refinery Limited in Pakistan, which has been winning the Sustainability Reporting Awards in Pakistan a few years now. And it's quite good. You just see the policy, you see the quantity and all that. Again, we want to know whether we want to see the trends. There is a positive movement, there is a lot of action, there's a lot of innovation. This is the best performing area, but some way to go. This, I believe, is from this is from John Keells. They have attempted to give, doing this for a diversified holding is tough. They've done a good job of this, and they've given an indicator also per guest in their report, which I haven't had room for, which is a very good indicator. That's the kind of indicator we are looking for, to track consumption per guest or per room night, what has happened. That should decline. Otherwise, you are not in that virtuous cycle. You're measuring, you may be monitoring, but there is little action taken. This is for water. And there are 3 indicators on water for GRI, but DEMO has been really good in driving down their water consumption. And that's, again, what we are looking for. They have a policy, how they are doing it is disclosed in the report with a trend line. They've given 3 years data, which is sufficient. We see a movement. And there is some transparency because they've reported even when it went up, and again, they've taken action to bring it down. You know there is a virtuous cycle in operation here. John Keells Holdings, again, if you look at the right, the water usage, you can see how that has been actioned. And you see which sectors are working on it and which sectors are not. And this is critical. Remember, water, if you look at the need for disclosure on water, take sectors like plantations. They are upstream users of water, water that is fresh and pure, and they use it in their factories. People on the estates use it. How can we not have them reporting on their use of water, the cleanest and the purest you will get? That's why I say I want more. I want these critical sectors to realize their responsibilities and report on these matters. It is necessary for us to move forward and to say that we have become more green. John Keells Hotels as well, and here again, the water liters per guest night. Very easily understandable visuals where we can determine for ourselves very quickly. Talawakale plantations, actually this is worth a read if you have the time, for the initiatives taken. This company is a plantations company, one of our largest, part of a very large group. They've done a lot of initiatives. Yes, the plantation companies have taken the first steps. and they will hopefully report. This report states specifically that they hope to report from next year. This is Tata Global Beverages report. Whilst it doesn't follow a holistic approach to sustainability reporting, had done what I really wanted companies to set their eyes on: innovating to use less water. And that's what they've done. So their coffee process, they've reduced 82% of the water. Now that is the goal. And we have to drive more companies towards this goal. We have to let them know it's not enough to disclose, it's not enough to be transparent. You have to do something about it. On biodiversity, I'm very thankful to certifications like Rainforest Alliance, who have raised the level of awareness in the companies that are using their certification. Their frameworks have got the company, particularly the plantation companies, to do amazing amounts of work that they had never done before. The hotels have used EarthCheck and Green Globe certifications, but the GRI disclosures are quite good. They've listed their properties. This is John Keel's Holdings PLC. They've listed all their properties which are next to biological preserved areas, biodiversity hotspots. And then the plantation companies, this is from the Watawela Plantations annual report, they have listed all the endangered species that are observed on their estates, which has never been done before. So yes, we've taken the road and we've started that journey of 1,000 steps. So I'm really encouraged by what I see. And here they've listed actions as well to show what they are doing to maintain and preserve these endangered species. On emissions, there are quite a few criteria showing how important it is. Some companies have attempted. I've used ATOX simply because they seem to be the most comprehensive, although they were following the earlier version of the sustainability reporting standards. It's all right, but the trends are missing, and it's difficult to conclude from these disclosures whether the company has actually done, achieved something. There are a lot of things that they have done, but where's the achievement? Where are the results? In the end, I think it's whatever you do, you have to focus on the results that you've achieved. I found this in Crescent Steel and Allied Products Limited. I believe it's an Pakistan company from Pakistan. They have actually asked their shareholders to go for electronic transmission of the annual report. And that's the only mention there is of anything environmentally friendly, but they've quantified the impact. They've engaged the shareholders by asking them to say yes to this, right? And that brings the next dimension that lots of companies seem to be forgetting: the potential to engage many more stakeholders. Companies are employers, they have suppliers, they have customers, all of whom can be influenced and engaged in their sustainability initiatives. There's a lot more to be done on that. On effluents and waste, I hope you can see this. The disclosures are, again, maximum 2 years comparisons. We need better comparisons per output to see whether there has been any greening there. companies are actually quite okay disclosing the fact that their effluents have increased and no one is bothered. That cannot be right. We have to demand better ratios, better information to show that the money they're spending on investments, the time and the effort, actually gets results. This is on wastewater management, more examples. Again, 2-year snapshot, we need 3 at least. And there are a whole host of indicators that are not even touched on. And these include the products, the impact, the amount of packaging materials that are recycled. You see that the companies in this region actually have very little activity in this area. When you do this holistic analysis, running through all the indicators to see where the action is, these indicators that come later along the GRI aspects are very poorly reported. And I'm just wondering whether it's a coincidence or what. Why is it that the lower indicators are just not reported? So we are talking about the impact of the environmental impact of your products and services, very poorly reported. Take, for example, Apple. They're disclosing how much impact each phone has on the environment. We as a region still have a long way to go to match up to that. And the same for, of course, compliance is nil reports. Comforting, yes, that there is corporates. Remember, I've looked at the creme de la creme of the sustainability reports. So they have to have nil reports. But is mere compliance enough? Or should we be adopting, like Brandix has, a very proactive model that goes beyond compliance, whether it is with voluntary codes or whether it is with legislation? The model should be one of wanting to go beyond. And yes, we hear in our interviews with companies, we hear great things that are done, perhaps not effectively reported. But I believe it also indicates the level of action. So yes, I'm saying compliance, nil reports are fine, but maybe we could go a little better and talk about the model, that it is a model that goes beyond compliance, proactively seeking to go after aggressive targets for reduction, as Brandix has. Transport, the impact of transporting your products. This was to me amazing when some of the stories that sustainability started out with, how Greenpeace converted Walmart into becoming a champion for sustainability, and the story of how your washing powder, your detergents have got more concentrated. That was to reduce the transport cost because they mapped it. These were the early inspirations. And the region seems to have done very little on this. There's safe transport, yes. But is there any activity to actually reduce the environmental impacts of transport? According to what is published, very little evidence. Overall, is they're asking for investments, and there are some good examples which I will come to. There are companies that do lots of tree planting campaigns, research, preservation, or supporting a particular wildlife reservation or species. There's a lot of examples there, which I haven't captured because they're there in almost every report. Then the supply environmental assessment. The potential for this is amazing because it's that multiplier effect. If you remember that old story about, I think it was the king who said, if you multiply by 2 the seeds of paddy or something, he was going to win by moving the drafts, the squares. This is it. If every company would have 10 to 30 suppliers. If you do environmental screening, you're one person, you've made an impact on 30 companies. That is huge, taking it to the next level. We see in our region the standards that are imposed by the developed countries. Their consumers require certification. Therefore, we provide the certification. The companies, the large players have got their act together, they're doing it well. They need to take it to the next level. They need to get their local suppliers involved in this game, educate them, train them. I heard a very good example where, of course, this was, well, social angle as well. HACAB has given financial assistance to make sure that their charcoal suppliers manufacture it in an environmentally friendly way. Now that is a really good example, but we need more of those. Just imagine the impact of that on the countryside, the environment that needs to be kept pristine for future generations. There needs to be better reporting on this. Environmental grievance mechanisms, it's non-existent. I haven't found one example. So that's quite a number of categories of indicators that where the boxes don't get ticked. But here's the positive reason, the overall picture, it is happening. There is a change for the better, but there's more. That's what we need to improve our carbon footprint. Better reporting, more reporting by more companies, more indicators, higher levels of awareness in boards, in key decision makers, deepening environmental assessments for taking it to the next level. We need innovation to happen. We need holistic award programs and certifications to support their journey. And one wonders why India has so many sustainability reports, way more than the others in the region. Is that legislation? Because India, as most of you know, has mandated the top 100 companies to report on sustainability. Is that what is required? I'll leave it up to you. But let's also just take a look at what's happening in the US. They have put out sustainability accounting, there's a sustainability accounting standards board established, which is headed by Michael Bloomberg. And they have pushed out so many, a huge number of accounting standards that have to be put in their mandatory SEC filings. So this is what is happening. Are we too complacent? Are we accepting what's happening in a positive way? Is it enough? I'll leave that question with you. Thank you.